When we think of great leaders, we usually picture these confident heroes, right? The ones who just leap into action. But what if the real story is, well, a lot more human, a lot messier? Today, we're digging into the story of a leader who was so not ready. We're going to look at that paralyzing feeling of doubt and what happens when destiny comes knocking and you really, really don't want to answer the door. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? This story, it's not about some hero who's been training his whole life for the big quest. No, it's about a regular person, someone who could be any of us, suddenly face to face with this massive, terrifying calling. And it's that internal fight, that gut-wrenching battle that follows, that's what we're really exploring here. Okay, so let's just paint the picture here. You've got Moses, he's a shepherd, basically hiding out in the middle of nowhere. And boom, God tells him to go back to Egypt. And what's the job? Oh, nothing much. Just walk up to Pharaoh, the most powerful ruler on the planet, and demand he let go of his entire slave workforce. I mean, from a purely human standpoint, you're not just looking at a tough job. This is a death wish. It's completely insane. And right away, the pushback starts. This is Moses' first objection. And you know what? It makes perfect sense. It's totally logical. He's already playing it out in his head and seeing it fail. He's worried about his credibility. He's basically thinking, who's going to listen to me? It's that deep human fear of not being taken seriously, of being written off. We've all been there. Yeah, that right there, that is the voice of doubt. It's not just some old quote. It's that universal whisper in the back of your head that says, you're not good enough for this. It's that raw, gut-level fear of looking like a fool. But God's response, it's just so brilliant in how simple it is. He doesn't get into a big debate. He doesn't give a long speech. He just asks this one simple question. And with that question, he completely flips the script. He pulls Moses' focus away from everything he thinks he doesn't have and points him right back to the one thing he does have, a plain old shepherd's staff. So the answer to all this doubt, it isn't going to be words. It's going to be action, a demonstration of power. And we need to be clear, what comes next, these aren't just magic tricks for show. They're like divine arguments, made real. They are proof positive that the one giving the orders can literally bend the rules of reality. Okay, let's break these down, because each one is like a targeted message. First, the staff turns into a serpent. Now, the serpent was a huge symbol of royal power in Egypt. So this is like saying, my power is greater than Pharaoh's. Then, his hand becomes diseased with leprosy and is instantly healed. That's a raw display of control over life, health, and death itself. And finally, turning the Nile into blood. Whoa! The Nile was the lifeblood of the entire Egyptian empire, considered a god. This is a direct shot at the heart of their power and their religion. This is power speaking a language that everybody, from the lowest slave to Pharaoh himself, would understand loud and clear. So you'd think after seeing all that, Moses would be on board, right? Nope. He pivots. The doubt completely changes direction. It's not about they won't believe me anymore. Now it's I'm not good enough. This is textbook imposter syndrome, that deep, nagging feeling that you're a fraud and you don't belong. Yeah, the whole fight has moved inside. This is purely an internal battle now. Moses is fighting against what he sees as his own fatal flaw. He's absolutely convinced that because he's not a great speaker, he's automatically disqualified. And God's response to this is, well, it's a thunderbolt, an absolute assertion of total control. It just completely obliterates the excuse. He's basically saying, that mouth you're so worried about, I made it. The fact that you see it as a weakness is completely irrelevant to me, the one who designed it in the first place. And that gets us to this incredible truth, right? The success of the mission has nothing to do with Moses' natural talent. His perceived weakness just doesn't matter to the one who created his strengths to begin with. And then we get to the real heart of the matter. After all the signs, after all the reassurances, Moses just lays his cards on the table. All the logical excuses are gone. This is just raw, unfiltered desperation. It's a plea that comes straight from a place of pure fear. Please, just pick somebody else. And this is the moment everything changes. Up until now, God has been patient. He's been reassuring. But it turns out there's a line. There's a limit to how long a divine plan will wait for human fear to get out of the way. The whole tone just snaps. This isn't just disappointment anymore. This is anger.
The incredible weight of this calling and Moses' stubborn refusal, they finally crashed into each other. A line has definitely been crossed.
So, what happens next is really interesting. God gives him a solution. His brother Aaron will be his mouthpiece. But here's the thing, you have to see this as more than just a helping hand. It's also a consequence. It's a compromise that only exists because of Moses' relentless doubt. Moses is still the guy in charge. He's still the chosen one with the authority. But now he needs this instrument, his brother, in a way he was never meant to.
And when you step back and look at this whole thing, the doubt, the signs, the excuses, even the anger, you realized it wasn't a roadblock in the process. It was the process. This intense, fiery, difficult conversation, this is exactly how a reluctant shepherd gets forged into the leader of a nation.
So if there's one huge takeaway from all of this, it's a total flip of how we usually think about leadership. It's not about finding the people who are already perfectly polished and ready to go. No, he equips the called. The call itself is what starts the training. The journey, the struggle, this very argument, this is what makes the leader. Being qualified isn't what you need to start the mission. Being qualified is what happens because you said yes to it.
When it comes right down to it, that's what this whole chapter is about, transformation. It's about watching a man go from being defined by his list of excuses to being defined by his incredible mission.
And so that brings us right back to that very first question God asked Moses. A question for all of us, really. When you are standing there, looking at your own impossible task, feeling totally out of your depth, just look down. What's that simple, ordinary thing that's already in your hand?